Welcome to this session. Today we are going to be talking about workflows. And as always, it's not my goal to sit here and teach you. My goal is to help you actually understand your CRM and how to navigate it so that you can use it the best in your day-to-day life. Let's talk about workflows. A workflow is one of the options that you have in the CRM to automate things. So it's going to be based on a trigger. So for example, if something happens, then something else will happen. So if there is a value in a certain field, then an email is going to be sent out. So that's the logic behind a workflow. It is going to help you not have to worry about doing these things manually. For example, you need to create a task every time something happens. You need to send an email every time a lead is created. Things like that are very redundant and that you're doing a lot and it's taking up a lot of your time. So we're going to solve that problem by creating a workflow for it. So let's get into it. First, we're going to go down to the settings in the bottom left-hand corner. I like to search for the workflow. It's under automation. We have workflow rules. If you ever have trouble finding something on this menu, though, you can type in workflow and it'll show you here workflow rules. Once we go to the workflow rules, we're going to see we have many workflows in the system. When we create a rule, it's going to be very important that we name it something that makes sense. And we know when we come back in a year and we have 100 workflows, we remember exactly what this one was for, because that's a huge problem that people have. They give it a 2-word name. And then a year later, they go back to their workflows. They're trying to clean it up, make sure they're all still relevant, and they don't know what it's for. So we're going to create a rule, and we have to select it for the correct module. So you're going to see a theme inside of Zoho because it's the same for the email template. So this will only work on the module that we're creating it for. So let's select the leads, and then we're going to give it a name. So send an email when a lead is created. Okay, so the first thing we have is when. So when is this workflow going to take place? So we have a few options here. We have a record action, we have a date and time field, and then we have record score and record notes. So a record action is going to be create, edit, or delete. So anytime a lead is created, anytime a lead is deleted, that is when we're going to execute this rule. This is the most popular option. You can also do a date and time field. So for example, if we want it to be on the next follow-up date, we can choose that. And then on that next follow-up date, this workflow will be executed. So for the purpose of today, we're going to do record action and we're going to do create. The next we have conditions. So we can have leads matching certain conditions, which is typically what you're going to be using, or you can do all leads. So let's say I want this email to go out when the lead source is trade show. So anytime the lead source is trade show, they're going to get a specific email saying, thank you for your time at the trade show. It was great meeting you, something like that. Now, let me show you one other thing. When you create a workflow, you need to test it out and you need to make sure everything looks good. And then the email's exactly the way you wanted it to be. The merge fields are working. So how you can test it out, you can add a condition for first name is test. And this workflow is only going to go out if the first name of that lead is test. Not contains test, is test. So very unlikely that you're going to have a person whose name is actually test. So you would create it on these test conditions is what we call it. Then you would create a lead with the first name test. And then you would see if this workflow is working, if you get the email. So you have to make sure that the lead source is trade show. You make sure you're getting the email, you make sure everything looks good, and then once you approve it and you want it to go live, you will come back here and you're going to click that minus button and we're going to remove the test condition. And now it's going to be live for everyone whose lead source is trade show. So that's just a little side note. So next we're going to go into the actions. So there are lots of options here. We can update a field with a workflow. We can assign an owner with a workflow. We can add or remove tags. We can notify. We can have activities, so we can create a task or a meeting or schedule a call. So there are lots of options that you can choose to do when the workflow is executed. Today, we're going to notify via email. It's going to pull up, since we're on the leads module, it'll pull up all of the templates we have for the leads module. So it's typically a good idea to create the template before you create the workflow. So now we can just choose whatever one we want, and then we'll associate it with this. And now we have a full workflow.